and live streamed on Weaver County League of Women Voters. So if someone wants to see it tonight, right off the bat, send them to our website, our Facebook page, and then I will send each one of you a link to the Zoom recording that's happening, so you can pass it out wherever you want to pass it out to, okay? So if people aren't here, they can hear what your answers are. Our basic rules around here is I will ask, you get 2 minutes to introduce yourself, talk about, a little bit about your past, whatever you want to talk about. Then I will ask you some questions that I have and some that hopefully these two have. And we give you a minute to answer. That's long or it can be short. So get to the point. And then you have a minute and a half to wrap up and tell everyone why we should vote for you. A couple of other things. I don't know how many of you have answered this. There's too many people running this year for me to keep track of anything anymore. But if someone, the biggest thing we get from people is, well, I don't know who these people are. So if you go to vote411.org, have them put in their address, it will pull up the candidates that they will choose off of the ballot. And they've been asked questions, and you can still do it if you haven't done it. And some answers can be in there, so you can kind of get to know a little bit about the person anyway along the way. Okay, any questions from you guys? Okay, let's start with 2 minutes to tell us all about you. We will vacillate who starts. Christy, you're on.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I want to start by thanking the Weaver County League of Women Voters for hosting the event. It's a great chance for us to connect and talk about the future of our community. My name is Christy Bell, and I'm running to be your next mayor of Uintah City. Yes, I know I'm running unopposed, but that doesn't mean I take it lightly. I want you to know the work I've done, the experience I bring, and why I'm the most qualified person to serve in this role. For nearly 8 years, I've had the privilege of serving on our city council. In that time, I've learned that leadership isn't about talking, it's about doing. I've helped bring in over $2.5 million in grants to improve our water systems. I've partnered with a neighboring city on a joint waterline project that saved Uintah families more than $500,000. I became our city's first licensed cross-connection administrator to keep our water safe. And I've made sure that when new growth comes, new development pays its way, not the current residents. From the beginning, I made it a priority for Uintah to have a seat at the table in county and state meetings. I showed up, spoke up, and built relationships to make sure our city's voice is heard. I've also served as the department head for most of our city departments, giving me firsthand knowledge of how they operate and the connections needed to solve problems quickly. Beyond infrastructure, I've been involved with the Bonneville Communities That Care for the past 8 years. This coalition, which Uintah and our neighboring cities take part in, uses proven strategies to reduce risk factors and strengthen protective factors for our youth, helping ensure our community is a safe and supportive place to raise families. I've put in the work, I know the role, and I'm ready to step into this position as your mayor. Even though I'm running unopposed, your support still matters. Together, we can keep building a safe city, a city that is safe, thriving, and a place we're all proud to call home. Thank you.
And I forgot to tell you, these are my friends here, these little women, and the pink or whatever, purple pad, it tells you you have 30 seconds left. And then the yellow pad tells you you better stop or she'll hit you. And can you see them? Yeah. There, you can see the thing. Okay, go ahead.
All right. So I'd like to start with a quote from the 30th President of the United States, Calvin Coolidge. So local self-government.
John, who you are?
I debated whether to put that first or second. Probably should have put it first. But local self-government is one of the most precious possessions. It is the greatest contributing factor to the stability, strength, liberty, and progress of the nation. So my name is Benjamin Mitchell. I live behind the church on 1800 East with my wife, Denise, and 4 kids. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, small business owner, and senior engineering manager at Northrop Grumman. Over the years, I've lived in 4 states and many cities, and I genuinely believe Uintah to be the best place I've ever lived. Mature trees, river, train, my old city had a similar train. There's certain nostalgia there, even though it's loud, but large lots, flat roads, and a tight community, all within a few minutes of work, while having the convenience of a larger city. And that's what I think what makes Uintah unique in the Wasatch Front. I believe Uintah needs to be proactive about protecting its small town feel. We don't want Uintah to become the next Riverdale with overdevelopment and traffic for South Weaver, with a giant business sign blocking the view of the mountains. You all know me. I'm running for city council because I want to help this city make good decisions about infrastructure improvements. There's been a lot of investment, as Christy pointed out in the last few years, and the water system, as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, is pretty fragile. My engineering background allows me to look at the facts and unique circumstances surrounding issues in our town, and provides sound reasoning behind decisions being made within the city council. Through a management and small business experience, I can help create realistic budgets and help be resourceful to save Uintah money without sacrificing services. But ultimately, I'm running for city council because I love our city and I want to keep the character we love. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay. Hi, my name is Michelle Roberts. I have lived in Uintah pretty much my entire life. It was a goal of mine to raise my kids here. I wanted them to have the childhood that I had because it was that great growing up here. I'm a single mom of two that works full-time as a dental hygienist, and I also teach part-time at Weber State, serving our veterans and taking care of their oral health. I started getting involved with the city by attending planning commission meetings in 2013, and then when an opening came up, I put my name in the hat. I wasn't appointed then, but I went next time they have an opening, and I was appointed, and I was sat on the planning commission for 2 years. When I was asked to run for the city council by many citizens, I was hesitant, but felt a calling to serve, and I was elected and have been for 3 terms. Uintah has a very special place in my heart for many reasons. As I've spoken to my neighbors and friends, I think we all have that same feeling. Having someone on the council that understands the uniqueness of Uintah is extremely important. I know there have been a lot of talk about increases and taxes and raises, and these are important topics. I would never agree to anything that I didn't feel was in the best interest of this city, as shown with how I have conducted myself since being elected. The entire time I've been on the council, I have fought to keep Uintah small in residents, businesses, and small in government. As a lifetime citizen of Uintah who remembers all the same great things about Uintah that you all do, I will fight wholeheartedly to keep it that way for as long as possible. Growing up with the innocence of a small town where my worries were not about crime or drugs, but whether the wind was going to mess up my hair at bus stop. A place where I spent more time walking the streets to meet friends rather than looking at a screen. A place where neighbors knew each other and took care of each other. Where if you accidentally left the keys in your car, your house unlocked, it didn't matter. A place that made meals for people who were sick, weeded yards or shoveled driveways for the elderly. A place that took pride in its history of community. A place that was united under you. This is what I intend to preserve for everyone's children. That is my agenda, to keep Uintah small, control growth, control crime, continue to make our residents priority, and to have a united Uintah.
Thank you. Tom?
To clarify, my full legal name is John Teague Sorensen, and that's what will appear on the ballot. I think a lot of people will be surprised by that because since the day I was born, I've always gone by my middle name, Teague. So I think that all my friends, neighbors, colleagues, everybody knows me as Teague, so it's kind of a shocker when they find out that my first name is John. But I have called Uintah home since I was 6 years old. Growing up in Uintah shaped my values, my sense of community, and gave me a deep appreciation for small town character that makes Uintah unique and a special place to live and raise a family. My wife and I are proud to be raising our 6 children here and continuing a legacy of connection and community that I've known nearly my entire life. I'm not running because I think that something is wrong with Uintah or because I believe sweeping changes are needed. I'm running out of a genuine sense of duty, a patriotic desire to give back to the community and to the community that has given me so much. Public service for me is about showing up, listening, and doing the work for the good of our neighbors, and that's what I intend to do. Uintah is unlike any other city in Weber County. We're small, close-knit. We are a small, close-knit town surrounded by growth and busyness, and that's what makes us unique. I want to help preserve our small town values, traditions, and way of life, while recognizing that time doesn't stand still. Some changes will inevitably come, but we don't need to copy other cities or lose what makes us us. Instead, we should find custom thoughtful solutions.
Thank you. Okay, first question, and we'll start with Ben. What do you believe that sustained, controlled growth looks like?
So in general, I believe it's making an assessment of what basically the city can handle from an economics perspective and also from an infrastructure perspective. I know, as it was brought up a couple of weeks ago and then reiterated last week with regards to the septic situation, there isn't, we can't just approve everything and have a rapid growth, because then that also changes, that there are impacts to the infrastructure, both water and also sewer. From an economic perspective, we do have to look at the areas, the commercial areas within Uintah city limits, and look at what makes sense to grow over there. Do we want to, should we be growing over there? Should we be changing that into different zoning or different types of businesses, that sort of thing. So it's really just performing an assessment and then making sure it makes sense from a financial and infrastructure development perspective.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
Would you state the question again?
What does sustained, controlled growth look like to you?
To me, and I think that the people that I have represented over the years is basically keeping Uintah as small as we can while still letting property owners do what they want to do with their property. I think it's important to note that we are unique in the fact that we have septic tanks and that we have one thoroughway through the city, and so that there controls growth. And to change that a lot, we would end up like South Weaver, and I don't think that is what anybody wants.
Okay, thank you. Teed?
Right. I think that, thank you. I think that for the people of Uintah, it means as little growth for as long as possible. Even if we didn't have a restriction based off of Morgan Weaver health for our septic tanks, I think that everybody would want it to still be half-acre lots. I think that we would want as many homes as possible versus commercial properties. And so I think that that's what it looks like for me and for many people in Uintah, as little growth.
Thank you. Christy?
I think the sustained controlled growth also needs to be responsible growth for our city. Like Michelle said, we're unique in the way that we are set up. We have one major road that feeds the whole city, as well as we're still on septic tanks, and we don't have sewer, and we don't have a plan for bringing sewer in the immediate future. So because of those things and because of our larger lot sizes, it's kind of set us up for the bedroom community that we are and the rural community that we like. And I think that's what the majority of our residents want. That's why they move here. And so I think the sustained controlled growth also needs to be responsible for what our city has to offer.
Okay. High density housing. What have you done to meet the requirement that the legislature put on you? That you have to have a certain amount, I think it's 10%, isn't it? You probably know, 10% high density housing?
Oh, high density housing, yeah.
Is that to me?
Yes.
Okay. Our high density housing is at the Cottonwood Estates down at the west end of the city.
Okay.
And so that meets our requirements at this point. And there's no future discussion that I know of right now for high density housing, and I would keep it where we're at.
And that was a question that you answered, so I'm going to reword that a little bit. How do you feel about high density housing within your community? And I think most of you have sort of told us, but if someone comes in and wants to build a high density apartment complex or whatever, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that it doesn't fit in Uintah. I think that we would need to do everything we can to prevent that. I am not familiar with any requirements or, with the Cottonwood Estates fulfilling those high density requirements. So, but I do think that we should avoid it at all costs.
Okay, Christy?
Like we kind of already stated, just because of how our lots are set up, it doesn't allow for high density housing because of the lack of sewer system. So I think just in honoring what the majority of the citizens want, that's not something we're looking at right now. And our Cottonwood Estates does satisfy the requirement from the state right now.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Well, yeah, and so same logic, you know, I enjoy Uintah because it is a small community. But like, we do have to think about what happens if the state does change. So we have to have a backup plan. So if they go to say, hey, it's 20%, is that like, okay, are the citizens of Uintah now stuck with paying for the sewer upgrade because of a state requirement to change everything? And so is that, you know, is that fair? That's absolutely not. And so, so I think opposing, you know, certainly from that perspective as well is what needs to happen as well. So yeah, the road's already crowded. To change anything significant, I mean, you have to widen the road or something, which means taking land from people, and that's not good. And then there's traffic and kids and people running, you know, it's just not a good situation.
Okay, thank you. Kate, do you have the budget to be able to operate the city in the way that it should be operated? Roads, infrastructure, etc. And that budget is published.
Yeah, I don't consider myself extremely knowledgeable when it comes to the city budget, but I do, the little bit of exposure that I've had to the city council members and the time that I've spent talking with them, I do feel like that we've had a legacy of city council members who handle the budget appropriately and who are taking steps to make sure that we do have budget to take care of our needs here in Uintah.
Okay.
Yes, we do now. In the recent years, we've noticed that we didn't have the budget available, so we had to do the hard task of raising taxes, which is never fun or wanted, but to be fiscally conservative and to be good stewards of our taxpayers' money, we knew we had to do that. We had to be able to pay for the projects that we need, be able to pay for our staff that we need, because we have good staff members, and we also needed to stop pulling from our reserves and be able to put back into them as well. So now, yes, we do. We have the money to pay for what we need as well as put some away for savings in the future.
Okay, so along similar lines with TGAC, so I've not looked at the current budget as approved for 2025, but just hearing the conversation last week regarding doing streaming services for city council, and there was a discussion about, you know, ultimately the costs, and it was a relatively small amount of money, and that really shows that, hey, this town is very concerned about, you know, wasteful spending, and so that's something that I absolutely agree with. I work in, you know, defense, so we're always looking for different ways to save money, because it ultimately does flow back to the taxpayers. I'm a big supporter of grants for a variety of things. I've actually just finished up a grant application for a different thing, literally today. I think using grants and different types of funding alternatives to try to avoid raising taxes is what we should do, but ultimately, as Christy pointed out, sometimes you just have to. But being conservative, fiscally conservative is what we need to do.
Michelle?
I have to echo what Christy said, is we do now. It was an incredibly difficult decision, and for the longest time, I've said it before, we patted ourselves on the back and said, hey, we didn't raise taxes through a pandemic, we didn't raise taxes through all the things that we've had here recently, major inflation, all of that. And so it was time to do it, and it was a long conversation, and now I feel like Uintah has had a history of council members that have been fiscally responsible, and we wanted to continue that and continue to do that. And I feel like we have done that, even if we didn't have to raise taxes this year, which nobody wanted to, but I feel like it was necessary in order for us to keep Uintah where we want to keep Uintah. If we don't want the growth, the more commercial buildings, all these other things, then us citizens are going to have to contribute.
How did you, that's going to tie into that question, Christy, how did you communicate all of this to the public, to your constituents out there with the taxes?
About the taxes?
Yeah, because people, I'm sure, were not happy.
Right. We have our city newsletter that we've been trying to be overly transparent in. Myself, I and a common contributor to that newsletter, and I try to keep whatever I'm voting on or working on out there on the newsletter forefront. We have a Text My Gov that we're able to get information out on, as well as our city website.
Okay. You didn't do it, but how would you make sure the community was involved?
Well, so I think still, given this community, just from this is a community that has a lot of, historical families here. So I think that still the biggest connection is through regular mail. I know, I read the newsletter that the city puts out far more often than going on a Facebook page or, going to I'll go to the city website, of course, but we're kind of, in this day and age, we're kind of pulled between, old school paper and social media. And so I think overall, most people read their mail. Not everybody has social media. So I would continue the paper side of it. And then also, and it's not too hard to also post on social media, but I think the primary need should be still in the paper form.
Sure.
I agree with what's been said. Also, this year we went through truth and taxation, which was new for us. And so we really appreciated, Michelle brought in someone to teach us about that and to go over all the reasons why we should or shouldn't do it and what we needed to do and how we needed to announce it to our citizens. And we had public hearings. And so I think that was how I would say we best got across the information.
Yeah, I think that the current city council took all the correct steps and made all the proper efforts to make sure people were informed. I also would add to the city newsletter being an awesome avenue for us to get information out. And know that many people, for me, I come from maybe a little bit different generation where I think that nobody should send me anything in the mail unless it's a Christmas card or the Uintah City newsletter. So that's all I want to get in the mail, and I enjoy getting the newsletter every month. So
That's it? That's all you get in the mail? I'm doing whatever you're.
all the rest of it's garbage.
Tell me what made you run for this office? What got you going to want to run for this office that you're running for? Ben?
Really just looking at it from the last 10 years or so, just moving around for work, finally settling in Utah. And it's one of those things where I've kind of dabbled in different things in other communities that I've lived in. I've never ran for office, but, when I truly sat down and talked to my wife about, where do we want to retire? Where do we want our kids to live as well? And Uintah is it. And so it's really a matter of, I saw the opportunity, and then there's also just, I want to help continue keeping this town, going and keeping it from turning into South Weaver or Riverdale. And
You don't want Riverdale out here?
no, that's where I live. Just prior to moving here, it's actually Riverdale. I moved 6 miles down the road, so
It got quieter though, right?
Of it. Yeah.
Michelle?
Sorry, will you restate the question again for me?
I just lost it because I was talking. What made you want to run for this office?
I think as I was saying in my introduction that Uintah has a really special place in my heart. I wanted to raise my children here. I want people to be able to raise their kids the way I was raised here. It's kind of a special place, I think, that is unique for the culture and the world that we're in right now. We kind of have a little bubble, and that is important to me, and it is important to keep that in this community, and so that is the driving force.
Thank you.
I think part of mine would be that the last time that Christy was running for city council, I reached out to her as trying to be an informed voter and got to know her a little bit more and hear a little bit more why she was running. And since then, she's been somewhat of a mentor to me. And when I continued to see that there was not very many people signing up for the open positions that were going to be voted upon this year, I thought that like I mentioned in the beginning, that there was a sense of duty, responsibility to volunteer, to serve and to help the community. And so I thought that I would sacrifice my time to come and be more informed, be a part of it, and try and do my best.
I love the city. I love living here. I love the people of it. I want to advocate for my friends and my neighbors who live here as well. One of my favorite parts is when we have a problem in our city that we get to see the changes, the next day. It's not forever down the road. It's, we see a problem, we can fix it. And then it blesses our lives, blesses our families' lives. And I love the staff here. They have a great staff, and we have been doing a lot of good things in the city the last 8 years, and I want to see that continue. I want to be able to finish what we started with improving infrastructure, with updating our equipment, with getting a staff that is reliable and wonderful and well-trained, and we have a good thing going, and I want to see it through.
Okay, thank you. I think my mind just left me. What is the biggest issue that you see happening here in Uintah now, Michelle?
Right this minute.
What are
If I'm really honest with you, yes, it's mosquitoes. But I felt a disconnect, and I know that a lot of my answers are a little soft and not, super regulated. But what I'm trying to say is I feel like there's been a disconnect with our unity here in Uintah here recently, and I think it's important that we're all on the same page as much as we can, that there is discussion and open and transparency, and I want to make sure that the citizens feel that way as well from the council.
I think that's a tough question. I don't see any large problems in Uintah. I think that we are on a good path. I think that we've had great, like I said, a great legacy of city council members and mayors that have truly had Uintah best interest at heart. One of my favorite things about Uintah is our unity and our small town, and the U Days feels more like a family reunion than Terrace Days or South Weaver Days or any of those. So I think that I just want to continue what we have going. I think that I want to be a representative for the voices of the people that I know and love in Uintah.
I think we have a slice of heaven here in Uintah City, but our bones are a little older, and so we have aging infrastructure. We have water lines that are more than 50 years old that are undersized and need to be replaced. And that takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, and it's something I'm willing to do for the city. I think it's important for the reliability of our water system, as well as we have a lot of aging equipment in the city, tractors that I think our public works spends more time fixing than the actual job it takes that they need it for. So we started to identify those problems, and we have them on a rotating budget now to fix. And I think as long as we keep working forward and fixing some of our, the things that you don't see, that would help with our Uintah City and what I think are the most pressing problems right now.
So mainly infrastructure and traffic. Infrastructure, without being said, or just what's already been said, just looking at what was it, 56 or something different valves. Now, of course, you need valves for isolating, problems, but 56 valves. And looking at the map, it's kind of a shotgun approach. These are water valves. It's related to the water issues or the frozen valves from the last couple of weeks. And then traffic. Sure, there's not that much traffic, but there's still a fair amount of just through traffic. I don't know if it's to avoid trying to get from 84 onto 89, because you can go take Adams or you can take basically cut through Uintah, take a left at the light and avoid all that traffic. So I see that all the time going to work. There's always like a row of cars that just never ends. And so really just trying to look at what are some options there, because there are a lot of people that are running or taking their dogs on that. And I've seen multiple times different situations, unsafe things.
Okay, so number 2, do you feel as if you are getting what you should get from the contract with the police? Do you do Weber County or do you do Riverdale?
Weber County.
Weber County. That's a long ways away. Do you feel like you're getting your money's worth out of the contract that you have with them?
You starting with me? I would say that I am not prepared to answer that question, but I actually, I mean, when I was a teenager, I hated driving in Washington Terrace because there was police always pulling everybody over, right? I think that that was a huge moneymaker for Washington Terrace City, and I wouldn't mind seeing at least a little bit more of Uintah because we do have speeding, we have problems with the traffic that we have, not realizing that we're 30 or 35 mile per hour on our main roads and less on our smaller roads. So I'd love to see if it's feasible, test that out, see if it's feasible to offset the cost of having more patrols with more tickets.
Yes, I do. I feel like we get our money's worth here in Uintah City, where we're such a small city. A unified approach, we're stronger together. And we don't have the budget that it would take to get all of the services that we're currently getting, that we get from Weber County, SWAT, CSI, the drug dogs, the camera they have out here that sees the license plates. There's just things that we as citizens, thankfully, hopefully we never have to use them. But if we need them, they're available to us. And as we've had different things happen in the city, it's been obvious that they descend on us when we need them to. And that sometimes it's better not to have them here as much, because that means we don't have all the problems that some of the other cities are having. But when we need them, they're available, and they've been nothing but supportive to Uintah City.
And so, yeah, I would say yes. I see the Weaver Sheriff quite regularly, just going to and from work. And kind of like what Christy was saying, there's a certain element of, there's the income side of it, but then there's also just, if we had, police patrolling our streets all the time, you start enforcing a lot of the, like I'll ride my riding lawnmower to my boss's house just for the sake of, that's very illegal, but it's not, it's just right down the road. So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to get pulled over on my lawnmower. It's still safe, but it's a matter of I think we're getting what we want. When you look at the reports, it is a very safe town with very minimal things happening outside of speeding, that sort of thing. But, so why change or incur costs by, adding more or changing the contract? So I think we're adequately funded.
Mostly is my answer. I think the boots on the ground, the deputies, the lieutenants, the sergeants that we work with, phenomenal. I think they have supported our city. I think that they are trying to enforce, but with reasonable, reason. I haven't been super impressed with the administration side of Weber County Sheriff's Department, just with how they handle their budget and whatnot. And so for me, I feel like that could change, but would I change from Weber County Sheriff's Office? Absolutely not. Uintah City could not afford to have what we get from Weber County and the amazing deputies and the sergeants and lieutenants that serve our city.
Okay. Attainable housing. A lot of people want their families to be able to live where you're living. Do you have enough affordable, attainable housing to be able to have your children find a place to live here and stay? Or is there something you need to do?
Christy?
Or me. That's a hard one for Uintah City because our lot sizes are larger, so our land costs more. The houses that are put on those larger lots are usually a little bit more pricey. So that is something that we struggle with as a city, having attainable housing for maybe entry-level families. So I think that's also a problem that's not unique to Uintah City. I feel like that's kind of an everywhere in Weber County thing right now in the state of Utah. So if somebody had to fix it, we'd love to hear it. But it is something that we do struggle with as a city.
It's hard. I know it is.
Well, yeah, and so I agree. Just coming back to the infrastructure, Uintah City as it stands cannot support without a significant improvement without a significant cost incurrence, the word, Anyway, yeah, engineering. No, without a significant cost impact, to make it truly attainable, but then also, yeah, there's just no land. But then also, I think it just ties back to the infrastructure can't support it. And then the cost to change that and being passed down to the residents is just not reasonable.
I have two boys, one is 21, and would I love him to be able to buy a lot and have a house down here? Absolutely. Is it feasible with the cost of living right now? No, it is not. And so I understand that people want to have their families close by, and that's what Uintah is we are a close-knit community that does have families and feel like a family. And so I would love to be able to have that, but that would mean, unfortunately, smaller lot sizes and sewer and a lot of cost to encourage the citizens. And while I would love that for my own children, I don't think it is in the best interest of Uintah.
I do think that for the most part, it matches what we have here. I think that the bigger problem for people wanting to find more attainable houses is that the people that have the attainable houses want to stay in those houses for a really long time. So we have new houses, we have old houses but even some of the old houses, those people do not want to sell. They love Uintah. So I think that we match appropriately. But yes, regardless, the market is expensive everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay, Ben. Okay, my brain just lost me. Oh, general plan. Do you know about the general plan? Has it been updated? Do you utilize that, or should you utilize that?
So I have read the general plan. It's been a while. Again, I don't know if it's been updated. I think just looking at other cities that I have looked at their general plans, a lot of times cities hire an external source to come in and create a consultant, or they hire a consultant to bring in and kind of come up with all these crazy ideas that involve a lot of money. I don't know if that's the case here, but I think whatever our general plan is, it should match the realistic expectations and the realistic goals of the city. But again, I have not cross-referenced it recently or remember it well enough.
If I remember correctly, the general plan was updated about 10 years ago, I think. So it's been a while, and I remember, could have been a little bit sooner, but I think that's about the time frame. I do remember that we had a community group, a coalition that came together. We also surveyed the citizens. We had a group of University of Utah students come in and help us with that to be able to lower costs and do things. And I think we did a really good job with the general plan at that time. And I think it represents what the citizens of Uintah want. Does it probably need to be updated? Yes, but I'm not a huge fan of fixing things don't need fixing.
I have referenced it a couple of times, the general plan. For personal needs, I don't know that I would come anywhere close to being an expert on the entirety of it. But I do think that, any major effort to update it down to the fine details would cause a lot of changes in the future when property owners want to do what they want to do with their property and they kind of propose it. And it makes sense, and if it were to be approved, then it'd be a lot of wasted time. I do think that there are some things that are probably due for review, but I would need to, get my boots dirty and learn from some of the senior council members to what some of those things that need addressing would be.
Michelle's right, it's been over 10 years since they put that plan together. We actually just looked at it recently in the last couple weeks at Wasatch Regional Council, say that right? They had some grant money that they have available to help us rewrite those plans. And so we got a group of citizens together and we're looking at rewriting that plan. And the more we looked at it, the more it became obvious that what the citizens want hasn't changed much. And so using the money for that wasn't the appropriate use for it at this point in time. When we go through that general plan, the citizens, they really put a lot of strong emphasis on keeping our city rural, and that's kind of where we're going with that. So I don't think it needs to be updated right now. Maybe a little bit here and there, but the general feel of it is where it should be.
Okay, Michelle, commercial businesses, what kind of commercial businesses would you like to bring in to Uintah if you want to bring any in?
I like our commercial zone where it's at. And I would like to see scenic development fill the buildings that they have over there. I would like them to see, you know, I mean, personally, I would like a great food joint, but, but we gotta.
In and out?
Yeah, I mean, Chick-fil-A, but then we could worry about traffic, so no.
You're getting too much traffic.
Yeah, more traffic. And so I think that keeping the commercial area where we have it over close to 89 is, I think, a great place for it. And I don't know if we have a whole lot of other areas in the city for commercial zoning. So I would say to stay over there, and hopefully we can fill those buildings that we already have.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I think that there's only one spot in Uintah that really works for commercial, and we have it, and it's there. I think besides that, you know, entrepreneurs that are trying to work out of their homes, you know, I'd encourage them to be able to participate in that way, but I don't think that like commercial buildings, commercial zoning, that we have much space at all for it.
I also have my personal wants like Michelle, but overall, I would agree with what's already been said. We have zoning wise, that's a great spot for it. It's convenient off 89. I would love for it to be filled as well because of the sales tax. We don't have a lot of sales revenue in the city, which is always nice when you're trying to balance the budget, but it would be nice to see those filled, and I don't feel like there's a whole other room for the city the way it's zoned right now.
Yeah, and so along the same lines, I think looking at those, the buildings in the east end of town and really trying to attract businesses that do bring either like called light manufacturing or, you know, engineering type professional services. I mean, obviously it's nice to have a food joint. But like also just looking at what is the best, you know, what can we look at is, and what's the highest revenue basically per square foot that you can attain, and how do you attract that type of business to be there? Is it, you know, there's that sign manufacturing place? Is it encouraging more light manufacturing? Is it professional services? Is it retail? You know, kind of really looking at the data and say like, what is, you know, what is going to bring the best value for the city at that point and the highest revenue potential per unit of land, we'll say.
Okay. Transparency. Tell me your definition of what transparency is.
Is it to me again? Is it you?
What does it look like?
I think Uintah City already does a great job of transparency. I think that for me, it's the ability for citizens to be able to find what's being discussed, what topics are coming up, things like that. I feel that anybody that wants to be well informed and see the transparency and see it all, I think that there's lots of room for people to be ignorant and ignore it and then be shocked. So hopefully one of those times they get shocked, they are inspired to be more involved and participate.
I feel like in the last 8 years that I've been on here, we've gone above and beyond to try to be transparent with our newsletters, with not conducting any business that's not done in front of the appropriate venues, having work sessions, having city council meetings, and we really just have tried our best. And like Teague said, for people who want to be involved, it's out there, it's here. I would love for our city council meetings to be filled to the brim with people. That's not ever been the case, but I would love that. I would love for people to be here. I'd love when people reach out to me. I would love to have the opportunity to explain what's going on in the city and what's our ideas behind things. We're not given that opportunity many of the times, but I welcome it. I want it. Everything that we do is transparent, and we do it for our neighbors. And trying to do what's best for everybody.
So overall, I mean, transparency is really just having open dialogue with personnel and the families and the personnel of Uintah, both in the city officials and then city employees and also just the residents. And so really, it's really a matter of just, okay, if we're gonna make a decision, people need to understand that, people need to understand that the logic behind these decisions. And so really communicating that, having it, just an open dialogue with really whoever wants to have a conversation. I mean, we're a small enough town, we should be able to have just a verbal conversation with somebody. It should be, I think that's really the cleanest definition of transparency. It's just having dialogue, open dialogue.
At the place you're gonna eat.
Oh, yeah.
And a good place to eat. I have to say that, while I've been on the council, I feel like we have been, very transparent. I feel like we have listened to the citizens. We have tried really hard, like Christy said, to go above and beyond. We've updated our website to make it more user-friendly. We have done the text.gov and had people sign up for that. We have updated on social media, on our Facebook and our city webpage. And so like Teague said, it is out there. It's just a matter of if they actually want to attend, which usually hasn't been the case. I do feel like the very best place to have a conversation about politics or taxes or any of those hot button topics is in person. I think it's important to make yourself available to be able to talk to our citizens. And all of our phone numbers and emails are listed on the website.
Yes, they are. And did you change to .gov?
You did.
I was having a hard time in my mind, so I was sending it to both .org and .gov. Wait for it to come back. Okay, that's the last of the questions. You have a minute and a half now to tell us all the wonderful things about you that we should know so that we vote for you. And
Morning again. Okay. I'll be quick. I just want to say that how grateful I am for this community. Uintah is more than where we live. It's our home. It's where we raise our families, where our neighbors still wave, and where people show up for each other. I may be running unopposed, but I never take your trust for granted. I will continue to put in the work, whether that's improving our infrastructure, protecting our water, or strengthening programs that keep our kids safe. My promise is simple. I will listen, I will show up, and I will make sure Uintah has a strong voice at every table. Together, we can keep building a Uintah that is safe, thriving, and one we are all proud to call home. Thank you for your confidence and support.
thank you. Yeah.
All right. So as a relative newcomer to Uintah, I just even living here for a very short amount of time, I've lived other places. I can see how special this is. I have a comparison from other places from, what does and does not work in general. I mean, obviously don't have a lot of the history here, but there's a lot of things I can say we don't want to do here because I've seen how they haven't worked. I'd like to bring that perspective into Uintah. I'm also very analytical in nature, better than my public speaking. The ability to really look at things from a financial and a just engineering numbers perspective to say, hey, does this really make sense? And that's, I think, what I bring to the table. I'd like to continue to live here and serve the community as I can.
So,
I think I just keep going back to the same thing, to keep Uintah small, to keep us feeling like we're in a little small town, little Mayberry, as long as we can. We want to keep that illusion for as long as we can. But I feel like I've done a number of things while I've been on the council. I've also been a part of many departments and the head of the departments for that, and including city celebrations. And I want to continue my work for the city, and I love serving the city, and I love being out and being a part of the community. Not always in this day and age do we have the chance to meet our neighbors and to kind of converse with the people that you live around. And I really enjoyed that, and I want to continue to enjoy that and keep, like you said, Uintah in a safe place.
I love this little town. I feel a deep need to give back, from, you know, the debt that I owe so many of our residents, so many of or just the culture that we have down here, the unity and the neighborly love that we have for each other. So that's why I'm just running. That's why if people want to vote for me, I hope that's why they want to vote for me. It's just out of, you know, seeing somebody that is deeply rooted in Uintah and has a desire to represent them.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. This is the first time we've done Uintah, I think for the whole time I've been around, which is awesome, which means there's somebody else running besides just being put into office. But that also tells me if you don't have a ton of people running, it also tells me people are happy for a lot of the reasons too. It doesn't mean they're sad because you two are here. But
No, it's really great. I new voices, and we're very happy.
yes, I was so excited when I saw it. I'm going, I get to go Uintah. I haven't been there before. I've actually come and listened to you, but you do have a very unique city. You've taught me a lot about it tonight, so that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming. If you haven't done vote for it.
Quick question from the audience here. Michelle, you had a wonderful idea. Why are you all treating this as a joke? Why can't we have a food joint here? We like having Starbucks or whatever.
Starbucks?
So adding a food joint would be just an amazing idea.
I think that is a possibility. There's actually drive-throughs on each end of that building. The reason why I made a joke is because if you go to Chick-fil-A, there's like a line out the wazoo every time you go there.
Oh, yes.
And so I wouldn't want that traffic. So while I enjoy a Chick-fil-A sandwich, I don't think I want to drive with that traffic in my own
We
hometown.
have wonderful crossroads right there. We have the lights, we have the.
I was gonna go
We
start
do,
a
but there
business.
is ways that 89 and 84 in UDOT's happening, and so there is going to be,
Interchange is gonna change.
Well, that's a
Whereas I think the other-
5600.
We also have Seven Brothers.
yes,
Yeah.
we do.
There's a burger joint.
What is it?
That's right.
Seven Brothers?
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
You might wanna wait until the interchange is in and then find out what you have.
Of course, we might all be perished by then, because these people do not move quickly.
I just want to on there.
I'm sure I'll get tired before they finish the road.
Don't turn on red.
If you haven't filled this out, I would.